As the dweller of Undal, Enki embodied the very essence of wisdom and creation, acting as a bridge between the celestial realms and earthly planes. His presence in the halls of Amenti symbolized the deep bond between the six-dimensional archangels and the physical world, granting him the power to share knowledge with both deities and humanity. In this sacred domain, Enki served as a guardian of ancient cosmic truths, revealing the mysteries of the universe and the secrets of life. He gained the trust of the Lemurian colonies of Lyra and Ramai, as well as the seven lords of the cycles, archangels of the sixth dimension, known as the Children of Light. Ninhursag, also known as Ninmah, the goddess of fertility and life, played a vital role in Enki's genetic modifications of humankind. According to the Enuma Elish and other ancient texts, Enki's initial attempts in the Anunnaki laboratories were met with failure. Using his profound knowledge of genetics and the sacred science of his people, he sought to merge the DNA of existing Homo erectus, Denisovans, and later Neanderthals with the divine essence of the gods. The results were unstable and fragile beings, physically strong, yet intellectually limited. These early creations had short lifespans, their bodies unable to endure the harsh conditions of the world they were meant to inhabit. Undeterred, Enki and Ninhursag adopted a more refined approach. Enki, wielding his mastery over the waters of life, infused the genetic material with divine energy, endowing it with the capacity to evolve and adapt. Ninhursag, with her deep attunement to the cycles of nature, refined the process further, focusing on fertility of the test tubes they utilized, blending it with the clay of the earth. Their final creation marked a breakthrough. Ninhursag bravely inseminated herself with the seed of the early hominids, giving birth to Adamu after a 10-month gestation, an idea born of Enki's wisdom. These new beings were both stronger and more intelligent, with adaptable bodies, a resemblance pleasing to the Anunnaki, and a resilience suited to survive their world's demands. Most Sumerian recordings on the Anunnaki are always dualistic due to missing translations. However, most portray Enki as a peaceful wise man. However, he had very powerful, lustful, and sometimes egotistical desires, a duality that became particularly evident after his sister, Princess Ninhursag, who also was a chief medical officer, departed from him. Together, they shaped the future of Earth. But Ninhursag eventually grew weary of Enki's relentless lust for her and his insistence on having a male child heir. She had given birth to a daughter named Ninsa, who became a goddess of vegetation. During this time, they discovered that Anunnaki born on Earth matured 5 times faster than human beings. Enki frequently expressed his love for Ninhursag, but when she embarked on an expedition for several shahs to seed Earth's trees and various plants from Nibiru, her absence left a void. In her absence, Enki turned his affections toward their daughter, Ninsa. Ninsa, born from the union of Enki and Ninhursag, embodied the abundance and fertility of the natural world. She represented the growth of plants and the nurturing life force that sustained all living beings. However, Enki, in his loneliness and unchecked desires of the semblance of Ninhursag, sought comfort in his own daughter. Without Ninhursag's guiding hand, Enki unknowingly fathered a child with Ninsa, leading to the birth of Ninkura, the goddess of the mountains. Ninhursag returned and was enraged at Enki's repeated transgressions. Enki's violation of natural boundaries was a direct affront to the balance of life that Ninhursag cherished. Despite the birth of their daughter Ninkura, who symbolized the Earth's strength and stability, Ninhursag could no longer ignore Enki's reckless behavior. Enki's cycle of overreach continued. When he looked towards the daughter of Ninkura, he approached her and fathered another child, Utu, the goddess of spinning and weaving. Utu represented cosmic order. But before Enki could repeat his mistake, Ninhursag intervened. She warned Utu to resist Enki's advances, but it was too late. Utu succumbed, and the union brought about great suffering. Seeing the damage Enki had wrought, Ninhursag, filled with both anger and pity, returned to intervene. She cursed Enki, not with words of hatred, but with the weight of his own actions. Ninhursag extracted Enki's seed from Utu's body, and from it gave birth to 8 sacred plants, each representing a vital aspect of nature disrupted by Enki's recklessness. In his arrogance, Enki consumed the plants, unaware of the consequences. His body became stricken with illness as the forces of nature turned against him. His viscera also had unending painful sensations. The very essence of life that he had manipulated and violated poisoned him, symbolizing the peril of unchecked power. As Enki lay dying, the Anunnaki gods pleaded with Ninhursag to save him. Though deeply angered, Ninhursag was still the goddess of life, and she could not ignore the cries of the other gods. To heal Enki, Ninhursag ordered her chief medical officers each to engineer a cure for his ailments. Nintai, Lady of Life, healed his rib. Ninkasi, Lady of Beer, healed his throat. Nansha, Goddess of Justice, restored balance. Azimua, Goddess of Healing, mended his limbs. Natsi, Goddess of the Goatfold, healed his muscles. Through these divine daughters, Ninhursag not only healed Enki, but restored balance to the world that had been destabilized by his transgressions. However, despite healing Enki, Ninhursag left him for good, retreating into the mountains to oversee the forces of life and fertility. She planted over 700 Anunnaki planets of Nibiru. Enki, though healed, was left with the weight of his past actions. He realized that his unchecked desires had caused suffering not only to himself, but to the daughters of the gods and the natural order they represented. Ninhursag's departure left Enki without his vital counterbalance, and he was forced to reflect on the consequences of his actions. Enki, often revered as a god by the ancient Sumerians, was neither a god in the omnipotent sense, nor a flawless being. Although mythological texts describe him as divine, Enki was, in essence, an advanced extraterrestrial from the Anunnaki civilization. Possessing extraordinary knowledge and technology, he appeared godlike to early humans, but he was ultimately a complex, flawed individual, driven by both wisdom and personal desires. Enki's compassion for humanity often brought him into conflict with his half-brother Enlil, highlighting a fundamental difference in priorities. While Enlil valued order and obedience, Enki championed growth, freedom, and the nurturing of human potential. This empathy led Enki to advocate for humanity, even when it contradicted the directives of other Anunnaki beings from Nibiru, Orion, and Sirius. His expertise in genetic engineering and civilization building was balanced by his own ambitions, and his legacy became one of mixed fortunes. Though he provided humanity with wisdom, his actions also introduced complexities and moral dilemmas that people would have to resolve on their own. Among humans, those with significant traces of Anunnaki heritage are most often descended from Enki's lineage. May the eternal light forever guide your path. See you on the next episode.